NicNackers. So welcome back to my kitchen. What I have going on right now is some freezer meals. And I'm going to be starting a new job here in just a couple of weeks. And so I thought, you know, sometimes a new job can be kind of stressful and you get really worn out and tired by the end of the day. And I don't know that I'm going to really feel like cooking when I get home from work. So I started researching freezer meals, and man, I'll tell you, there are some talented women out there in the kitchen as far as the freezer meals go. I mean, I'm watching videos of people putting out 30, 50, 100 meals in one day, and that is not my style. That's way too intense for me. I don't have the time, and I don't want to make the time for that kind of freezer meal prep. But if I'm making a meal, then I don't mind doubling it, tripling it, or in this case, quadrupling it, and getting a couple of meals set aside to put in my freezer for next week or the week after or the week after. So that's what I've been working on today. Now, what I am going to be doing today is stuffed peppers, and I thought, you know, I mean, I love my freezer, but you guys know I'm a canner. And so I thought, you know, I've heard of people canning the unstuffed pepper soup. I've never canned that. And since I'm buying all the ingredients for my stuffed peppers, I'm going to buy ingredients to can some unstuffed pepper soup for the winter. So the next video that will be coming out will be a video on doing that. But today will be the freezer meals. So, for the video, I am just doubling this recipe. Based on what I read on the reviews, it's an all recipes recipe, but it comes from Chef John. And I don't know if you guys know who that is, but I watch his YouTube channel. And I have never made a dish of his that I have not loved. And in fact, Becca's favorite dish is the one that she requests for her birthday is a Chef John recipe. So I did see some recipes for stuffed peppers for freezer meals, but I just felt like there was something missing from them. I mean, I have my stuffed pepper recipe that I do, which is basically just a meatloaf that I stuff into a pepper and I bake it. Nothing too spectacular about that. But I thought, you know, I'm just gonna all recipes search, and I'm gonna see what I find, and I found this Chef John recipe, so that's what I'm gonna be doing today. And based off of the reviews, I'm probably going to get enough for, if not 2 pans, maybe even 3 pans of stuffed peppers. So what I have going here is I sauteed 2 onions. The recipe calls for 1. And I have some rice that I had brought to a boil, put the lid on, turned the burner off, and I've been letting set there for about 15 minutes or so. And so now let's get on to what is next. So in his recipe, it calls for you to set the onions aside and then put the marinara, let's see, beef broth, balsamic vinegar, red pepper flakes into a skillet, get it warm. I'm not going to go through all that because my plan is not to stick this right in the oven for dinner. My plan is to stick this into my 9x13 pan and put it in the freezer. So why go through the bother of heating it up and doing all that? I'll do that for the onions because getting kind of that crunchy and that really hard bite of onion out is kind of nice. So I went ahead and did that. So we are going to be getting the marinara sauce, and I know, shame on me, but I don't want to waste my good canned stuff on something that I'm going to be mixing up and throwing together here. So I did buy some marinara. I bought those 2. One is just a traditional, the other is a garlic and herb. I figured I could mix and match them, and we'll see what we come up with. So marinara sauce, let me get my can opener and get that in there. It calls for 2 cups of marinara sauce, and in here is 3 cups. So I'm not going to use just a partial of this. And I know I'm going to want 4, which is going to require me to open up another jar. And I'm just going to put both of them in. What's the worst that could happen? I end up with more sauce, and that will be for my 3rd pan, which is perfect. So let me get my can opener and get that open, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my marinara sauce in the bowl, and now we're going to be adding beef broth. Now it calls for a cup of beef broth. I'm going to be doubling it, so that's 2 cups. I know that when I get done with this, I'm going to be doing another double batch. So I'm just using a quart of my canned broth. So I'll pour about half in with this go round, and then the next one I'll do another. Good enough. And then we need balsamic vinegar, which is going to be, I think, a tablespoon. Let me find where it's at. Tablespoon. I'm probably just going to eyeball this. 1, 2. Good enough. And then the red pepper flakes, I believe. And the red pepper flakes. And I think it's going to be a 1/4 teaspoon. It is. And let me get my measuring for this. So a 1/4 teaspoon, I'm doubling it, so that'll be half a teaspoon. And I kind of want to stay on the not so hot side of this, so that's why I'm definitely measuring. Okay, so we'll get that all stirred together. And then I believe that this is going to go on the bottom of our 9x13. So let's get that stirred up. Good. Okay, so let's set that aside. Now, I'm going to need another pot, this one, and we are going to combine the ground beef, which is a pound of ground beef, Italian sausage, which is, so he calls for a 1/4 pound of Italian sausage, of hot Italian sausage with the casings removed. I'm not going to buy a special sausage. We have a freezer full of sausage. I'm not going to only use a 1/4 pound. I'm going to go ahead and just throw a whole pound of sausage in there. So, and it calls for I think I said that, a pound of the hamburger. So I'll do a whole pound of sausage, and to double it, I'll do 2 pounds of hamburger. Hopefully that makes sense. So we'll add that in there. So let me get everything else ready, because once I get that meat in there, I'm going to have to get my hands dirty. So it's a diced tomatoes, and it called for a 10-ounce jar of diced tomatoes. When I buy my tomatoes, they come in this 14.5 ounce. So that's what I'm using. I'm not going to use just a partial jar. Nope, because then I'll just have a jar sitting in the fridge and I won't have anything to use for the rest of that 4.5 ounces. All right, and then Italian parsley. This calls for fresh Italian parsley. I don't have fresh, but I do have my dried parsley. It's about a 1/4 cup. So I'll put in there, nice little palmful there. And garlic. Oh, I need to grab my garlic. And my one of my marinaras has garlic in it as well, so that'll be a nice. We're gonna have lots of garlic. because I think that this calls for 4 cloves. Let me double check. Yep, 4 cloves of garlic. So I'm just going to put in 2 heaping tablespoons, excuse me, of garlic. And garlic, salt, which was 2 teaspoons of salt. Where did my, there we go. Might have even been 2.5. I'll double check, but at least 2, which means 4. And let me see if I need the half. 2 teaspoons. Yep. Okay, perfect. So there's that. The black pepper and the cayenne pepper. The cayenne pepper I'm leaving out. I don't mind a little spicy, but my family's not a huge fan of very spicy. So I think between the pepper flakes that are in the marinara and the black pepper, oops, pay attention, there will be enough spice in here. That'll be good. So it calls for a teaspoon of black pepper. Better double check. Yep. So we'll do 2. Oh man, guys, it smells so good. I know I shouldn't be touching my hair, but yeah. And the onions. So we're going to add the onions in there as well. And all I did with the onions was I just chopped up 2 and threw in 2 tablespoons of olive oil and sauteed them just to get them soft. I may have said that at the beginning. I don't remember. But if you don't want to saute them, I know like my mom loves onions, doesn't mind the crunch or the bite of fresh onions. They're going to get cooked when you cook them in the oven, so it's not a huge deal, but I'm okay. Let's see. It's going to call for the rice. Let's see how done that rice is. Hopefully it's done. Oh, it's perfect. Perfect. Okay. Stir in the rice. And this was 2 cups of rice with 4 cups of water. And the other thing that's going to go in here before the meat, I'm going to go ahead and stir this up, kind of get that rice cooled off a little bit. Oh, you guys, this is going to be so good. I cannot wait to get this in the freezer. And what I've been doing is I've made a couple of freezer meals now. And yesterday I did chicken fried rice. And so I just made a 9x13 pan and didn't freeze it, stuck it in my refrigerator, and that's what will be for dinner tonight. So when I make these, I will hold one back to keep in the fridge, and that's what I will make tomorrow. All right, oh, so good. Okay. This also calls for cheese. Now, his recipe calls for a cup of Parmigiano Reggiano. I don't have that. I didn't have it on hand. I didn't think about buying it when I went to the store and got my groceries. So I'm just going to use the cheese that I have on hand. I think that's going to be fantastic. So let me grab my cheese, and then it's time to mix in the meat. So it calls for a cup, so we'll be putting 2 in. So I'm just going to do 2 handfuls. And then you know I'll be sprinkling the top with some more cheese as well. Set that there for now. Get that mixed up. Oh, that bowl still feels pretty warm, so that cheese might even start melting, but that's okay. That is not going to hurt anything. Oh, even that just looks delicious. Seriously. Couldn't you just eat that for dinner right there? Yum. All right, so we're gonna get our sausage in first. And what I found with, and you know, it's been so long since I bought store-bought sausage, I have no idea if the consistency is the same, but our homemade sausage is just really much harder to break up and crumble than even hamburger. Not sure why that is. You would think with the increased fat, and maybe that's why, maybe it's the fat content. You know how fat hardens in the fridge, so when it's in the freezer and then you thaw it, usually mine is still pretty cool, so maybe that's what does it. And these are so nice. If you know you're going to want to use one for dinner, then you can take it out of the freezer for, I'm sorry, I was talking about the freezer meals, although stuffed peppers are going to be very nice as well. But you just take it out the night before, leave it in your refrigerator to thaw, and then in the morning, if it's a crock pot one, you stick it in your crock pot on low for 8 hours. You come home to an almost ready to make meal. If you want to, a lot of the crock pot meals call for rice. And I multiple times have made big batches of rice and then just portioned them out into freezer bags and froze them. And if you do that, I mean, you don't have to wait half an hour for your rice to cook when you come home, because it's ready. Oh yeah, this cheese is melting nicely. Okay, we got the sausage in there. Now we'll break up the hamburger and get in there as well. This isn't near as hard. Hamburger usually breaks up very, very nicely, so. Oh yeah, much more. So I'll tell you guys, Becca and I looked at my YouTube page the other day and saw that I was up to, I think on that day, I haven't checked it for a day or two, but I was up to 992 subscribers. I just can't even tell you guys how awesome that is. It's just so fantastic. So what I decided to do is I am going to be doing a giveaway just to say thank you to you guys. And when I have the items, I will let you know. I'll put a video up and let you guys know when it is. But I bought a apron and one of my ladles that I love to use when I'm canning. So those will be for the giveaway, but I'll show you guys those and do a video, and that way you can decide if that's even something that you want to enter to win. But I just wanted to do a thank you because I think it's pretty awesome. Never thought that it would go that far. All right, so now I am going to, I have not prepped my peppers, and of course the recipe always calls for green peppers because that's usually what people do their stuffed peppers with, myself included. But last time I went to the store, the red, orange, and yellow peppers were on sale for 88 cents, which in my area is a fantastic deal. So I bought all red, yellow, and orange peppers. So I'm going to prep some of those and get those ready so that I can start stuffing them and getting them in my 9x13s or 8x whatever. It's I bought the aluminum pans at the store, so whatever size those are, and I'll bring it back. All right, so I have 4 peppers cut up. I just sliced them in half, and I thought when I saw it, somebody left the little stem on, and I thought, oh, that's awfully cute. So I decided that I was going to do that as well. Oh, I need to divide this mixture. So let's see here. I want to stir it up a little bit first. So we're going to dump a little bit in each one. Scrape this out a little bit. All right, that should be good. It may not be divided exactly perfect, but that's okay. All right, so then we stuff our peppers. And I kind of want to keep them so that they're fairly nice across. That way when I go to put my cheese on, it's not going to just melt right off of the peppers. Oof, boy, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit 4. I might have to just stick with 3 peppers in there. See, I need a yellow one. My tummy's growling. And then we'll do an orange one there. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to stick with 3. I don't know. Well, maybe I can push it. We'll see. And that stem fell off. Bummer. All right, maybe I'm wrong. I might be able to fit. Let's see. Red, 2 reds, and then we need another yellow. Honestly, this makes me want to have these for dinner tonight instead of the fried rice. I might need to do that. I don't know that I'll be able to fit another one in there, guys. I don't think that I will. Which, if we're all only having a half, won't be a big deal. So, I might get more than I thought, because the recipe called for 4 peppers. And I only have 3 peppers in that. So I think I'm going to get more than I even bargained for, which is, I'm not complaining. So I'm going to continue stuffing, and I will bring you back so you can actually get a bird's eye view of what these look like, okay? All right, so here is what I ended up doing. 6 halves in 4 pans. And with this one, I just sprayed the bottom with some nonstick spray and put my peppers in there. You know, when I do my recipe, I have never put a tomato mixture under the bottom. Not that I'm opposed to that. I think it sounds delicious, and I think that'll make a nice glaze over the top once they get cooked. But I didn't want to open up all those jars just for 1 pan. So I ended up using all of that meat mixture. I did have to go back and kind of add some to a couple of peppers. So some are a little bit more loaded down with the meat mixture than others, but that's a-okay. You know, whenever Eric is eating, we'll give him the one that has the most meat, or when Jake comes home. So now I'll show you what I'm going to do. I have my cheese here, and I'm just going to take a big handful of cheese, and I'm just going to sprinkle that on there. And then, once I get the cheese on, I probably won't bring you back to show me wrapping them up, but I just have been putting, oops, sorry, I guess I can't do 2 things at once. I've just been putting aluminum foil over the top, crimping them down really well, and then just writing on the outside what they are. I know a lot of people make a big deal about dating and all that kind of stuff, but honestly, I am not planning on having these around long enough that I'm going to need to date them, so I'm not going to worry about that. And 1 more handful for my plain ones over here. Let me bring it back instead of showing you my groceries on my counter. There we go. So there I have 4 pans of stuffed peppers. 1 that we will be using probably tomorrow night. I'm going to try to make myself wait. And then the other 3 I'm going to package up and get those in my freezer for some night when I'm not feeling like cooking, or I'm too exhausted to cook, or we have been go, 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 and there's just no time to cook. So there you have it. I thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Have a great day, and stay tuned for my next canning project, which is going to be the unstuffed pepper soup.